An old Android is still a good Android, but there's always an older iPhone.
Engineers are thinking more about the code rather than about the final product.
When we didn't have any of this good, really good tooling, there were little of us, none of us had the experience we have nowadays, and there was no AI.
That's why we are building software, because software it has no emotions, and it's better at doing something more accurate than the human being.
Typically, as humans, we tend to learn when we suffer.
In the end, engineers are hiring engineers.
I would say I want to focus on being productive, on being creative, on actually building meaningful stuff for the market, for people to use.
I wouldn't ask a signature of the function even before AI.
We'll reach a point where ideas and actual creativity is the only thing that matters.
Does it really matter if AI is generating all the code? Would that design patterns and architecture and all that stuff matter?
You want leaner teams. In translation, smaller teams. Translation, people losing their jobs.
You cannot learn unless you almost know it already.
Hello and welcome everyone to yet another episode of VUnstaged with yet another very special guest, which I will soon introduce. But before we introduce the guest, the tradition of the show is the guest picks the drink. And the drink for today's show is coffee, a little bit unusual. But in today's show we'll have some coffee. And other than that, I will not spoil the show, will not make it any longer. And I will let my guest introduce himself. So if you can tell us your name, what do you do for a living? And of course, I ask this everyone, how did you get into tech?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. It's really cool to speak a little bit about tech and stuff. And you've mentioned coffee. I guess that maybe it's not that strong as the previous drinks, but
it's pretty strong. It's espresso.
Yeah, if it's an espresso,
it's also a double. Like I customized this because they have super small portions. I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna put double. So it's a double espresso. Just mind you.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's 6 p.m. now. So
yeah, perfect time for
a double espresso. Yeah, of course, you will have a nice sleep. All right, my name is Maxim. You can call me Max. I'm doing interesting things. Usually, this is how I describe what I'm doing to everybody that are not in IT and in tech and programming. For those who are in on the topic, I'm doing Android mainly. Recently, I was working at Crunchyroll. This is a company owned by Sony. I was leading the mobile Android team there. This is a very long, probably journey and story.
Yeah, everyone has a unique, a lot of people say it's gaming. I got some game. I played it. Oh, I want to be a programmer. But a lot of people have interesting stories.
Actually, it's pretty standard in my case, although you'll be most probably this will be maybe it will sound funny, but I don't play computer games.
You do not?
Yeah, I don't play computer games. I don't like them.
I think you're lying though, because how let's start with how do I remember you? I remember you from the technical university, and there were times, believe it or not, there were times when we used to have people that are actually creative and they're actually doing stuff with their heads, with their own hands. And they used to do that at such events called hackathons. So that's how I remember you. And I believe at some point you guys were implementing some kind of a game. It was a mobile game, if I'm not mistaken. But I do think at least you created one. If you don't play.
That's true. This is the very first thing that I was doing when I joined the technical university is trying to build a lot of games with my colleagues and friends. But at the same time, I the drug dealer. So yeah, selling drugs, but don't consuming them.
You mean drug dealer in a sense of how Android names their versions?
No. I mean, that's a good one actually. Yeah. I don't play computer games, even though I was trying to build a lot, and maybe sometimes I want to build some more. And probably this is why I didn't end up like in the game industry, because you cannot like build something that you
I
don't.
think I will start messing around with the game industry when there's going to be like a really mature / popular framework on Rust. Because everything is like the most cool shit is Unreal Engine, C++. You go back to memory management.
Well,
Headaches.
there is also like Unity.
Yeah.
Don't forget about Unity. Is also like.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. The biggest names in the industry is pretty much Unreal.
I remember,
also, the license.
Well, yeah, the license. That's true. But like I remember when I started to build games at the university, it was Unity that was on the market at that time.
Yeah.
And I remember like I was, I don't know, at the third year of study, and Unreal Engine started to become more popular, and I tried to run it on my, I don't know, like 4 gigs of RAM laptop, and it just like like it shut down. Like
I remember like starting on a course. It was also Unreal, but I happened to be unlucky that I started picking it up when Unreal 5 came out, and it came out as a really buggy versions.
Yeah,
like I had to work it around, and I also was stupid enough to try it on a Mac, which of course doesn't work. It doesn't work as well as on Windows. So was a very unlucky and happy experience.
Well, so back to our ships. The way I landed up in tech is pretty simple. While being at school, I've written a really like short, small program. And I was surprised that the dumb computer does what I want to do.
Was it Pascal or?
It was Pascal. Yeah, it was Pascal, that blue console.
Yeah. Can you believe people still like do that? I mean, obviously we sort of went a little bit more modern, like with AI programs and whatnot. But people, I guess, on average, still learn Pascal.
I will tell you that I was writing Pascal 3 years ago to help a friend of mine with some programs, and like IntelliJ IDEA has like a plugin for Pascal.
It does?
Yeah, and there is IntelliSense there.
Interesting.
Yeah, just try it out. Like try writing
just
Pascal.
Imagine the brokey at school who like has nothing but his time buying an IntelliJ just to buy also the is the plugin free or?
Yeah, the plugin is free. It's just that you need to use like the community version of the IDE, but the plugin is free. Yeah.
Do you remember the times when we used to be checked, like when you had a test on like informatics and whatnot? You used to like there were some hardcore teachers that used to check you if you put the semicolon or not.
Oh,
because technically, if you don't put it, it's a compilation error and it doesn't work.
That's true.
And nowadays, nobody gives a shit because we have these super intelligent tools and we're become so dumb as a result of that, to the point where you no longer even care to remember the signature of a function. You don't care. There's like some arguments there. I'm just going to pass it or whatever.
Unless you don't prepare for, for an interview at big tech companies like Google, Amazon, and Facebook, and you don't need to write code in a document, in a Google Doc, then in this case, you don't care about the syntax. But if you prepare for an interview, you have to know the syntax as well.
Yeah, more on that. Do you remember the times when we used to like, I believe it's the 12th grade when you had to like type in, you had to type it in the Word, like HTML stuff in Word, and then you converted the extension from like a text or TXT to something like HTML for the browser to recognize it. Then we got to like Notepad++, and then we got to like crazy IDEs. And I don't even think that we had IntelliJ at the time or JetBrains.
It was probably how it was called, like Eclipse. It was Eclipse.
There was a version from Adobe, I believe.
I didn't ever like wrote any line of Java code in Eclipse.
Yeah, like everyone's making fun of it. And it's funny that the new generation of people don't even know what that is.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's like making fun of jQuery if you were to write JavaScript, but never used it because everyone's just not talking about it anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Well, this is how I ended up. I mean, I had that feeling that I can control the dumb computer.
You like to be a dictator, I see.
Well, I'm not sure.
Tell the computer what to do and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, you can do really like impressive, interesting things with that, and this is something that surrounds you, so you don't have any like you cannot avoid it, right?
Yeah, it's very interesting that like how we got from like the web 1.0 where everything was unsafe, unsecure, everyone's just experimenting with it, and then we got to the crazy world of tech we have nowadays and super intelligent and whatnot. Yeah, the reason I ask this question is because I am very curious how people, especially people of around my age or even older, like people around my age, still relatable, but when I ask like older people and they tell me about computers that came before computers and whatnot, that's even more crazy and interesting.
Yeah.
And I would imagine assembly for them was like innovation and whatnot. Whereas for us, it's like super low level. No, don't touch that.
Well, that's probably true.
I understood how you got into tech, but how did you specifically, let's say, had a taste of mobile development? How did you, because like the software engineering world is so big. How did you specifically say, this is what I want to do? Like you tried some things, didn't work. And then, because in my case, I wasn't immediately a software engineer. I did try a bunch of things, including like designing stuff. And I figured this is not for me. I'm not such a good designer. I'm just going to write software.
Yeah, I was actually also trying to design stuff, and then quickly realized that it's I cannot make it beautiful. Sorry.
Yeah, like squares and circles.
Yeah.
Magic happening behind.
Yeah, actually, it's again, it's pretty simple. When I joined the university in the first year, we had a presentation built from two guys from Indava. And one of them, he was a mobile developer at that time. And I remember I like, after the presentation, I had that thought in my mind, like, it's probably it should be interesting to like write code for a mobile
to command 8 billion devices.
Yeah, before that, I was writing code only for PCs. I was doing web development even in the school. So that's
that's how everyone started, I think, like web development,
PHP Symfony, and that was probably my first stuff that I was building. I even like managed to do some money with that.
Impressive.
In the school I was doing some small websites for some local like businesses. But then I thought like, well, I know how to compile code on the PC, but how to compile it for the mobile, how to run it there.
Yeah.
I had that thought in my mind, but it went away. And it didn't come to my mind, I guess, for like a year or two. And then I guess the very first project that I tried to like build something for mobile, it was not native, first of all. It was Xamarin.
Yeah.
Damn technology.
I mean, if it was Xamarin, technically you didn't start that far behind, that like long ago.
That's true.
Because that's like a recent technology.
Well, I'd say it's already old and obsolete and deprecated, and hope nobody does it.
Yeah, we'll talk about cross-platform in a second, but
this was the first project. It happened. I was doing backend actually at that time in a company. I passed the internship, and I was doing like backend development as a junior, and then it happened that there were need for somebody to take over like a project on Xamarin, and this is my first official development for mobile. It was funny because I started to like write code for production, and I had no clue how to do that.
So this is your exposure to the mobile development, basically?
Yeah, that's true. And I remember I had two monitors, Google on one monitor and then the project on the other. And at the beginning, it was very hard and it was slow because I was Googling every single line of code.
Yeah, like as a junior, nowadays, I would say you are very privileged on the one hand, because you got all these intelligent tooling. On the other hand, the bar is so high.
Well, yeah.
But the bar was high at the time as well, because we didn't have that many courses. We didn't have that many good documentation. Like the docs got so well, the courses got, now we have so much information nowadays. At the same time, with so much information, the bar is also higher. But can you say the bar wasn't high enough back then?
probably the challenge was that you never had like this opportunity to use an AI model.
Yeah.
You had to do this with your hands.
Is
like,
that a
go to
blessing
Google.
or a curse though? When, let's say, you get something too easy, too fast, doesn't that go away also the same way? In a sense,
Uh,
it doesn't stick.
I wouldn't say that with AI you are doing that easier. You can do that
No, yeah,
faster.
like that's, let's say, something simple. Yeah, we can dive into AI and all that. But typically, I mean, I don't know, man. Like at the time, it was not pleasant. I'll tell you that. It was a process of growth, which is painful. But now that I remember like how I used to spend my time till very late in the AM, like mornings with like pink eyes, scrolling through every article slash GitHub thread slash Stack Overflow thread that I can possibly read to find an answer is valuable because it's an experience, a memory. At the same time, it's information that sticks. Like typically, as humans, we tend to learn when we suffer. And if you didn't earn it, or you don't feel like you did earn it, then it doesn't really stick / you don't value it as much. So AI gives you this sense of, I did it quick. Don't care. I finished it. Let's move on to the next goal, I guess. And you forgot what you did yesterday. You don't even care because the management is not even incentivizing you to care or to learn concepts and whatnot.
When you're doing your research without AI, you have like a longer path that you are following to figure out like the output and to understand something. And down this path, you're finding a lot of other interesting things that you are learning that you have to Google because you don't know. I remember how I was like learning a couple years ago when I was basically, I need to find like a term.
Yeah.
I'm searching for it. I start to read something, and then I find 1 billion terms that I also don't know, and I have to learn them as well. With AI, you can go straight to the point, and basically you're missing this, like the roadmap, the hard roadmap of learning something. Probably.
Yeah. Also, what I find difficult with AI is it's a very good mentor. I am not gonna lie. It's a very good mentor. There's no such thing as a stupid question, which used to be the case for Stack Overflow. But at the same time, it doesn't have a roadmap. It can instruct you and teach you on anything. Whereas we had a rough path. Like we started with no documentation / shitty documentation. And then at the same time, we got both AI and really good documentation, really good information. And now nobody's reading the good information and everyone's relying strictly on AI. Whereas if we had that good path where you had good documentation, because we had this desire of learning, finding, reading, and whatnot, the problem is there wasn't enough of that. Now there's a lot of that, but nobody's reading. Everybody's spending their time in the LLM. And sometimes it hallucinates, and that's my problem with it, because I cannot trust it. I still need to, I need to do two jobs now. I need to ask the LLM to give me a rough idea / roadmap, and then I need to check if the LLM actually did the right job.
Yeah, just try using a different LLM to check that LLM, and then try to use.
So it's we switched from doing everything ourselves to babysitting AI. But I also remember the times when we didn't even have that great of an intelligence in the IDE. Like the times when you had to type the function name until the end. Can you believe that we had such times when you would have to maybe not remember the function, but at least know what the function is doing, what you're looking for and whatnot. And now nobody cares. You just type in one letter. It gives you not only the function name, suggestions, comments, anything.
Well, yeah, there are pros and cons for both, actually. And I guess that the fact that you don't have to care about the syntax is also good because you can focus more on product and doing.
You can be more productive / creative.
Yeah, that's true.
How did we get to Android? Do you remember the Nokia / Symbian times?
Oh,
those are
Actually, I had a Nokia. I guess I was a child.
It was legendary. You could break somebody's skull with a Nokia.
Definitely. I had an Alcatel. It was small, and I remember I got a phone call, and then I, it slipped my hands, and it basically it went into a cup of tea. and it was ringing in the cup of tea.
Yeah,
And then I you know, like I took it from the cup of tea and did it like this, you know, like this, and then shaked it a little bit, and then answered the call and put it into my pocket, and it was.
Yeah, that was such a crazy phone. Like, there's like a lot of memes. People still find Nokias that still work to the day.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is funny.
It's funny that there are people that actually are collecting these phones and they are paying a lot of money to find like a unboxed phone. You know, like that
NFT type
sealed.
of thing. Since nobody has them anymore.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I had a Nokia. I remember how it evolved, although I didn't follow. Like my very first phone on Android was a pretty good phone, I guess. It was Galaxy S2.
Yeah, that's pretty new.
Yeah.
I remember the times when like there was the Nokia world dominating the market, then came BlackBerry, I believe, and then Symbian. Like Symbian died so quickly, it like didn't last that much. Like it came along, I remember it used to consume so much battery so quickly, draining it, and then it died really quickly. Android being the king.
So yeah, my very first Android phone was Galaxy S2. It was really cool. I was in the school. I remember that you know, like that's times when I was playing Fruitnesia and all my friends were watching how I played. It was so cool.
Do you remember the times when we used to like in between pauses before like lectures and stuff? We used to sit and like send music and stuff via Bluetooth.
Well, it was before Android, I guess.
Yeah, it was before Android, definitely. But at the time, you could still use like I remember there was like better Bluetooth and like shitty Bluetooth stuff phones.
Oh,
the better ones, the better ones were able to like connect remotely via the other device and like delete stuff from within the phone.
Oh yeah.
Can you believe you were able to like connect to the other person's phone while they were like listening to the teacher? You would just delete their photos, their music, everything. I was so messed up. Talk about security and stuff. Yeah. What would be the best Android phone you can buy in 2025? But let's put it this way. For like the people who consider Android users peasants, let's call them iPhone users.
Oh.
Yeah. How would you convince somebody who owns an iPhone to like switch to an Android? And what would be that phone you would recommend?
You know, I guess that I wouldn't try to convince because you know, it's funny why like usually like Android users are always trying to convince Apple users to switch to Android and that Android is cool.
Yeah.
And I never noticed the opposite.
have you heard of the Pepsi Coke effect?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Don't you think it's the same here? Like in reality, Android phones provide so much more value, but for some reason, the people tend to think iOS is cooler. It's more premium. It's more let's call it scarce / you get into the premium club and whatever.
I guess it's basically the market is divided, and is divided like if you want. But it was, you know, like I usually like used to think that it's you know like they divided the market and the Apple took the more expensive stuff and Android is basically something that
but it's not even expensive for a good reason. Like they sell, you could say, the same thing in a more beautifully wrapped up experience.
It depends. It depends because I guess it's a matter of taste and after all, like it's the consumer that pays the money and it's the consumer that decides if the you know like the value costs that money. So if for example if I decide that I'm ready to pay like let's say 1,000 euro for an iPhone.
I mean, there are cheaper options nowadays, but it's cheaper in a sense that, okay, you want to do this, you're going to be quite limited. If you want to go pro, we have a pro version of that, but that's more expensive. And you don't even notice how you actually go on the high end. And if you go on the high end on the other camp, meaning Android, you can find so much more value, or even for the less of a price, which is funny a little bit.
I guess that if I would have to convince somebody, I would rather not do that. But if I had to convince, I would say that I would suggest at least to try as a different experience.
Yeah.
Not because Android is better or iOS is better, but because we're not trying different things. I mean, we are living one
What would be a
life.
device you would recommend? Like a brand?
If you want something true that's closer to Android feeling,
Yeah.
then probably Pixel, any Pixel device, Pixel 10. If you've got some money,
I mean, if you have an iPhone, you probably got the money.
probably that's true. And yeah, but at the same time, like if you want good camera and if you want some good AI there in the phone, then Pixel 10 is really like a good choice. I guess they have there like a lot of cool things with Gemini. If you want something more beautiful and appealing, probably Samsung. They
have such a good camera though, and the pictures.
Probably not the best.
Yeah, I guess arguable to me, to whoever sees that. But yeah, I noticed they had really good pictures.
Like I have an iPhone.
Yeah.
Even though I'm an Android developer, I'm working with two phones always. I have an iPhone and I have a Pixel 7 Pro. It's old, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And when I bought an iPhone, it was actually my wife decided to switch to iPhone because she's a blogger and she needs like good photos and videos. And I was always saying that, I mean, there is no difference between photos from an iPhone and photos from, at that moment, I had Galaxy S10, I guess, probably. But then she switched and I decided to switch as well to try it out. And also so that we have like, a common topic to discuss.
Yeah.
And I switched to an iPhone, but I didn't switch to all the, Apple ecosystem products like iCloud and so on. I was still using and I'm still using like Google Photos and all that, products from Google. And if you go to my Google Photos to the library and you start to scroll, there is like a clear border. It's noticeable when I switched from my Galaxy to an iPhone. The photos
there's no such thing as as an old Android. An old Android is still a good Android, but there's always an older iPhone. You always need to upgrade to the new thing, which is not even a new thing anymore because it's the same thing, just different amount of cameras, I guess.
And color.
Yeah, and dynamic island and whatever they come up with, the concept of this is the new innovation.
Yeah, that's true. And probably this is.
But yeah, more on the we mentioned convincing, and what's funny about Android is Android embraces people actually moving away from Android as opposed to Apple. Have you heard of the blue/green bubble discrimination, whatever it is? It is a little bit political due to how Apple locks in their users. So basically, if you have a phone number and you send any messages via iMessage, then it's really, really hard to go with the same phone number to an Android. Even if you deregister it, it's still sometimes for some reason not sending the message, or if it sends it, it shows a green message to show that you're sending a message to a peasant, probably.
There is MagSafe on iPhones.
Yeah.
We've got something similar in Pixel. And now you can stick your Pixel 10 Pro, if you have a Pixel 10 Pro, you can stick it to your, I don't know, MagSafe charger or whatever you want.
Interesting. Yeah, it sounds very compelling. The only reason I think I bought an Android, because at some point I was thinking maybe I want to develop cross-platform apps. And I just want to test it across a real device and whatnot. And I still keep it, I still charge it, but I never use it, which is funny.
Yeah, cross-platform. Yeah.
But I guess, yeah, that's why I can't go away, because I'm too locked in. You have this iCloud thing, you have the copy-paste thing, the iMessage, FaceTime. It's too convenient to go away from.
That's
especially if you have more devices from Apple.
Well, yeah, if you have an ecosystem, then yeah, that's true. If you're changing your iPhone, if you are switching to Android, you have to change your watch.
Correct. Yeah, it's harder to have all the brands from Google, although they don't have a Google laptop, a Google phone, a Google watch, a Google earphones. And like they don't have that ecosystem. And Apple did a really great job when it comes to building that. It's also easier for the developers, I think. I would imagine as an Android developer, when you develop, like how do you deal with responsiveness? I would assume it's a nightmare to build an app for like such a variety of screens, especially like the foldables and shit. Compared to Apple, you don't have to worry that much.
What's interesting is that Android is actually not only on the phones. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. You have like automotive, you have...
Yeah, what people don't realize is like the
You have
cars,
watches.
refrigerators, like washing machines, like
coffee
everything.
machines, like even in the previous office that I was working where when I was making a cup of coffee, I realized that the coffee machine is running an Android operating system. How I did that? I tried to swipe from the top to the bottom, and then the bar appeared on the screen.
I heard there was like an exact same type of bug, I believe, on Volkswagen, where instead of showing a progress bar which cannot be changed, they put like a scroll bar or whatever, and you were able to like change the progress of whatever is happening there.
Building for different screens is not something new, actually. Web is doing this for a decade.
Yeah, Web has been doing this hustle since whatever.
And to be honest, like with the modern tooling today is even easier. It was more complex, like back in the past, because it was like even the tooling, like it was not that you had to like write more manually, like do
it's so
stuff.
Funny that we talk about AI replacing us when we didn't have any of this really good tooling. There were little of us, none of us had the experience we have nowadays, and there was no AI. Nowadays we have so many tools we built for our own selves, and at the same time we say AI is going to do all of that. So who did we build the tools for?
Maybe for AI. Why not? Like I was speaking like a little bit of off top. I was discussing with some of like my colleagues on this topic with the AI, and like we touched an interesting topic. We were discussing code design and architecture.
Yeah,
and we were thinking like, does it really matter if AI is generating all the code? Would that design patterns and architecture and all that stuff matter if the AI would generate everything, and you just go to the to the prompt console and just tell the AI what to do, and then it generates everything?
The problem is, what is the bar for quality?
IT is not that old, actually, and all this computer science and programming is not that old. So it evolves at the speed light, right? So imagine that with time it will improve a lot, and imagine that you would be able to have all the context there, like to have like a model keeping everything in the context and understand fully like everything that's generated. So in this case, would you care about like architecture and code design and how the code looks?
I honestly, like, to be all the way honest, I'm having a change of heart, and I would say I would not care. I would say I want to focus on being productive, on being creative, on actually building meaningful stuff for the market for people to use. But at the same time, it's enough for the AI to hallucinate one time to crush all of my dreams. And I need to make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, that's why probably we would need somebody who would take care to like and will make sure that this will not happen. But like what I was thinking about is that maybe we would not care about architecture and code design at that stage.
But what would be your job then? Is my question.
Oh, the job, that's a different discussion.
Yeah.
Back to the architecture and code design. Maybe that would be important for the models themselves. Because if the models would generate code without code smells and good architecture and design, then every time you would ask the model to change something, it would be easier for the model to do that.
Yeah, but I think the people have like a misconception on how the models are reasoning. And in reality, the way they reason is based on numbers, pure numbers. So what in reality happens is you have a bunch of floats and integers which are related to each other, and they kind of make sense when they're closer to each other, which is, in translation, your input that gets converted to some number, which gets fetched through some like proximity of other vectors of numbers. That's how it makes sense to the model. And when you take that analogy, you actually realize that it's not as intelligent as we think it is. Yeah.
Well, yeah, probably that's true. But in anyway, like the like the context matters a lot, and the quality of the context also matters.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the day when that's going to be true, because it's going to be so valuable, not only for developers, but as well for like business people and people that I would say don't have as much trust as the tech bros are trying to hype that up. Because I remember the very first days. Do you remember the very first days when ChatGPT came out? Like Twitter, LinkedIn, every tech bro social media was full of people that were experts and that were building cool shit in minutes. And then the same people were complaining like a few days later that their product breaks. For some reason, there's like a security issue and whatnot.
I really hope that this is really something that has future and is evolving. I don't think AI is going to take our jobs.
Let me ask you this then. What do you think is the job of a software engineer going to look like in 5 to 10 years? What you and I will be doing?
Like there is a funny thought about this. Probably we could become product owners. I don't know.
We'll take the jobs. Are you saying the project owners / project managers will lose their job because we'll end up being a smarter, more competent manager?
I don't think so. Everybody will have to adapt, like every time something new comes, like something like every time a revolution happens, you either adapt or you don't.
Yeah, it's Darwinism 101. Adapt or perish.
Yeah, that's true. But this is funny that maybe we are going to become that, like product / architect / the person that is focused more on the product.
What you're saying is inevitably coming to one conclusion. You want leaner teams. In translation, smaller teams. Translation, people losing their jobs. Some people.
I wouldn't say that all the people would lose their jobs, right? Because again, if the people will adapt, that's fine. But like probably one thing that is interesting is that you would become like a different person if you would stay in the position of like being an engineer. Being an engineer would really like mean solving problems.
What I tend to observe over the years with languages, frameworks, and whatnot is they tend, like we started from very messy / procedural steps where you'd have to do a lot of steps before you get to your creative idea coming to fruition, to nowadays where you have a thought, you have an idea, you easily make it happen because you don't care that much about technicalities. And I think we'll reach a point where ideas and actual creativity is the only thing that matters. Everything else is secondary.
And this is fine. This is cool. I guess this is how it should actually be.
Yeah.
Because after all, like like writing the code is a skill that, I mean,
used to be scarce. Now it's whatever.
I mean, anybody can write code. Like this is.
Remember the times when interviews used to be like, somebody would ask you if you remember by heart the signature of a function and what it does.
Oh, yeah.
Or what will this code print?
This is something really funny that is still happening, actually.
Yeah, there's like progress is everywhere.
Yeah.
Is here, is just not evenly distributed. Like there are companies, even like huge majorities or parts of countries that do still old school stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to catch up eventually, but yeah.
I wouldn't ask a signature of the function even before AI, like a couple of years ago, because it doesn't make sense.
You wouldn't believe what happened in the JavaScript world a few years ago. I believe it still happens, but yeah, I'm just sharing my experience from previous interviews.
Is it something that still happens? Like
yeah, you would still like, oh, what's this console log going to do? And you can just fucking open the browser and paste it and see what it's going to do. Yeah, of course, you're being tested if you understand how certain parts of the language work. But you could instead just ask the term itself. Do you know how XYZ works? Explain that in your words. It's easier to ask that question instead of showing some stupid ass code and asking what is it going to print.
That's why probably like big tech companies are doing like algorithmic interviews
Yeah.
instead of like trying to understand if you know the params of a function of
Do you
or a
think that's
structure.
useful?
I think
Let's put the question this way. Do you think that is useful for 99% of the companies out there?
it depends. I think if you have the like if you have the like the opportunity and the room for an error, because like it could be that somebody is very good, extremely good at algorithmic problems and like learned a lot of patterns and stuff, but then he cannot do his job. So
Like,
big companies, I guess they can afford such cases, and it's not a big deal. If you are a small company and you need really like a good tech person that will do his job,
yeah,
then
but I
probably you
would
don't have
say,
that.
I would argue it's not even about the scale of the company. I would say it's more about the industry within which the company is involved. For example, not everyone's Google or Amazon where they have to build high availability, high scaling services, or they have to work with extreme precision, and you really need people that know algorithms. There are companies that are doing good old e-commerce, good old CRMs, good old stuff that people need people to do. And if you and they're huge companies also, like they're companies that are doing this on scale massively. At the same time, huge company doing boring stuff. Question is, do you really care to evaluate people on that? Because I had interviews where they like tried to crush me, and then I land into the project and everything is old school, everything's boring as fuck. and
That's
and
true.
then you ask yourself, was it worth it? Like, okay, you filter all these people to get the best of the people. Question is, do you want the best of the people to filter out your bullshit and work with it daily, or you want the best people because you have the best products which require the best people that know a lot of good stuff?
This is something that I guess it's still present.
More on the hiring, what's your opinion of the current market? Let's say the current market plus when it started to happen. Let's go back 3 years ago until what we have nowadays. What's your opinion of what's going on in the hiring department? Has the quality of it degraded? Do people look for quality or they look for, let's call it, loyalty, but not the good kind of loyalty? The loyalty that comes in the package with incompetency? Like, what's your opinion of the current market?
I guess it's very chaotic, and first of all, it's hard to hire because of again of AI.
Is it
Usually,
because of AI or because of some global economical
I
thing which is
guess
happening?
no, I guess it's pretty simple. I usually try to like simplify everything because maybe this is how I like understand things better. But it's very simple. Like people is tricking the interviews easier with AI. It's really hard to figure out like a good question to ask that person to really understand how that person thinks, and not how the like GPT or Claude or whatever model that person is using to pass the
Yeah,
interview.
do you know, I don't know if you heard about the guy from like a university who built like a tool for cheating at interviews and then
Yeah,
he got expelled from the university.
there is a guy that built a tool to solve algorithmic problems
Yeah, yeah.
for the interviews at FANG, like the big companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, and eventually uh, he built that tool, he used that tool to
Yeah.
pass the interview, he got a job offer, and then he refused the job offer and made all this like public. So
Made a point.
he made this public. I guess he built a YouTube channel, and now he's a blogger, and he earns a lot of money from blogging. And of course, he is in the blacklist of all the companies, and he will not be able to join any of them, like
Yeah,
the big
that's
ones.
funny that, I mean, people will inevitably cheat. That's my opinion because we tend to go for what's easier. That's just how our brain works. Oh, this is easy. This gives me pleasure. I will record this as a good thing. And I want to repeat this likely as many times as I can.
Probably it depends on like if the company has the room to like commit a mistake and hire a person that is like is good at algorithms, but at the same time that person is not good at doing his
Yeah,
job,
he's not committed. He's not showing up. Like I know a lot of people that are such hard workers, but maybe they're not as, let's put it, smart in terms of how many algorithms slash best practices, but they'll get your shit done way faster. They'll ship features like printing them, which, and as a business, as a company, you ask yourself, do you care more about these people, especially with the whole AI boom, or do you care more about people that are gurus, gatekeepers, and whatnot? And if I were to be a businessman, I would say I don't give a fuck about those gurus who know everything. I would care more about the people that can deliver like actual deliverables, actual things that impact my business. But then at the same time, you put in charge people that interview those people, and they will just gatekeep them. They will not allow them to go in.
That's I guess that's the point, like you're saying that if I would be a businessman, but I mean, in the big companies,
yeah, but you need to rise to be a
businessman.
businessman. You need to rise to the position where I know what it's like to be a developer, and I know what it's like to manage people, and I'm gonna make sure that the people I leave, let's say on a layer below me, are actually people that value what I'm interested in my business, instead of just hiring a bunch of I don't know what, and like they come in here and they're doing I don't know what, when they're supposed to be focusing on how can we grow the business, how can we actually deliver more things.
That's the point, like in the end, engineers are hiring engineers. And there
Correct,
is,
yeah.
and like being an engineer, especially in IT, is having like a huge, big ego nowadays.
The problem with engineers, and I used to suffer from that like for a long time, is we don't think like the business people think, which is understandable. But what I mean by that is business people will very often think something which we think should be more beautiful technically, more future proof, whatever concepts we came up with, doesn't matter. Like, we can afford technical debt. Who gives a shit? As long as the user is not complaining, he's paying us money, we do not care. So I guess that's where we divide. That's where we draw the line. And that's why a lot of developers are not very good business people, because they think like developers. They're perfectionists. They want everything done future-proof and this and that.
That's the thing that I truly believe that AI will change.
Yeah.
Because with AI, it will not, nobody will care about the perfectionism, because AI will do that, and it will do it even better than we are doing, right? That's why we are building software, because software is it has no emotions, and it's better at doing something more accurate than the human being.
Yeah, but we got from we went from the point where we just ship a bunch of shit to the point, okay, this thing got way out of hand. It's too big. Now we need to manage this monster. And then we started introducing these design patterns. Let's make this more beautiful, more manageable, more future-proof, in other words. And then this got to the point where it's toxic. Now everything we do has to be thought out thoroughly, and we have to think 1,000 steps ahead, and we are solving problems that do not exist yet, or will never exist. And you get to the point where you need to balance, okay, I need to measure 7 times and cut once. At the same time, how many times do I need to do this process? Like, I need to foresee some things. Like, if I do this, something's bad is going to happen. At the same time, if there's a problem which is synthetical and it's only going to happen when, let's say, you're going to reach 500 million users, nobody gives a shit. Just do it. And when you have the problem, then you're going to think about it. That's our syndrome as engineers. We like to over-engineer. We like to play with the new toy, with the new thing.
And again, probably this is again because of the ego. I always like going through pull requests and seeing how people are reacting to comments, how people are writing comments. This again like demonstrates that a lot of times like engineers are thinking more about the code rather than about the final product and solution, and about the users. And again, that's my point, that most probably AI will change that, because with AI you will not become that engineer that the main goal is to write like code and to write clean code.
Do you remember the times when you used to be a junior? You would have this fire within you, just want to share everything.
Yeah.
But then you would have to interact with the seniors. And those seniors would look like they are tired of living. And the reason for that, I guess, now I understand that feeling more and more, because they're doing the same shit for years. They have seen it all. And at the same time, they don't give a fuck about quality. They just want to get some stuff done so then they can report, look, I've done this and that. This is good for the business. It's a deliverable. I don't care about quality. I'm going to let the junior do the rest of the things. And that's why I guess a lot of those seniors will more often than not oppose innovation and whatnot, because they like it comfortable, you know?
Yeah, like works don't touch and that stuff.
Yeah. More on the political side. Do you think the Huawei ban was a mistake, or was it for the greater cause?
Yeah.
Remember the times when like they had to publish that a really cool iPhone, really cool phone with like a huge zoom and whatnot, and then bam, it's a threat to the US, and we're gonna ban it. And then Google followed, and then it happened.
They are still doing that. I mean, who cares? Like, did you like notice that triple fold how Huawei phone like?
Yeah,
It's. I mean, if you fold it in like in three ways, it beats all the foldables, I guess. Because if you compare it with even with Samsung,
yeah,
that's basically it's the leader on the market with the foldables, because it's the company that introduced that. If you compare it like the thickness of the devices, then triple fold from Huawei is the same. It has the same thick as the Fold Galaxy Fold.
Do they wear over time? Like, how does it work?
I don't know. I mean,
because when I buy a phone, here's my idea. I want to buy a phone. Preferably, I do not want to change it until it fucking breaks. Like when the memory is gonna be full, because you cannot insert SD cards nowadays. And when the battery, I mean, you can change the battery technically, but that's the idea. Like you keep it for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, then you change it.
I don't know how sustainable it is and how like how rigid it. But I mean, it's innovation. Like it's something that nobody did, and they
I
did
heard
that.
Apple also has something up their sleeves. Like I've heard they have like a foldable, which they're experimenting with. At some point, they want to release it, but I'm not sure.
Maybe the fact that they did such a like a like such a tiny phone like Air, maybe this is maybe one step towards like making foldables. But yeah, I mean, again, in regards to the Huawei and all that stuff, maybe long term it was needed for US for security and stuff.
Maybe it also forced them to go bigger and greater.
Probably that's also
because you have
opinion.
monopolization with like the App Store and the Play Market.
I believe that like my idea is that when you're restricting something to somebody, this means that you are moving that somebody out of the comfort zone. And when somebody moves out of the comfort zone, there are two ways. It either grows a lot, because it makes that somebody like do something new, or it dies. So
yeah, typically like even people, I would say, innovated because of existential threats. That's how we got to the moon. That's how we build most of the things we have. We had a threat, which is an existential threat, be it another country or a war or whatever. And that's how we innovated. And as a company, you also have an existential threat when you're hit with, you can no longer ship anything to that market.
Like the pain makes us live longer and improve ourselves, like, and I believe that Huawei is good. And the market is good, and maybe like long term, short term, maybe it was needed and good for US, but long term, it's probably good for Huawei as well.
The reason I'm asking about Huawei is because of like I see both Google and Apple being fined on, I don't know if you heard about like the Digital Markets Act. It's an European law basically stating that you're not supposed to be unfair and monopolize the market and whatnot. And Apple is doing this with like their apps, where they have like I believe it's a 30% cut on their apps. And I don't know if you heard about like the DHH Hey app scandal, where basically they published like their own email client, and they would offer the user a possibility to pay via external links, meaning you go to another website and you pay from that. And obviously Apple has to say something about it. I think they have like a policy where they tell you that you're not supposed to do that. And this goes against this Digital Markets Act, where you say you should allow the person to actually compete with your marketplace. In other words, I'm not sure to what extent Google does it, but Apple is pretty ruthless on that.
I guess that Apple is more severe. That's definitely. But on the other hand, like being more severe is so Google is more friendly to developers, to indie developers, to like like basically anybody can write it. I had students that were building like some apps and were uploading them to the Google Play, and they were like allowed and approved by Google. The disadvantage of this is that you have a lot of shitty apps.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about, are we still in the, let's say, era of epidemic shit pile of apps which nobody uses or installs once and forgets about it?
Of course, that's I guess.
And how does Google prevent that? Because I know when it comes to Apple, especially the recent App Store changes, it's so fucking hard to get your app approved. They actually go ahead, like they don't always do that, but a lot of the times they will like ask you for real accounts, for like they actually they have testers on their side, and they would ask you for like dummy accounts and whatnot. So they need to be able to walk through at least the happy path, the full flow of your application. So registration and then your product and whatnot.
Your app will be tested definitely, but at the same time, like speaking about the money, speaking about like the how easy it is to actually like purchase a developer account and upload some apps, Google is more friendly. And probably this comes to together with a lot of like different devices and a variety of devices that Android runs on.
I wanted to touch more on the mobile development. You mentioned your first exposure to Android was cross-platform using Xamarin.
That's true.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, have you tried iOS development before?
Of course, yeah. I'm always trying to learn that stuff, but I'm always procrastinating. Probably the hard time I have is the IDE. They have like a shitty IDE. I don't know, like it's impossible.
The drag and drop stuff, or
no. I mean the IntelliSense. There is no IntelliSense in Xcode, and like. Well, there is IntelliSense, but when you've used like for a lot of years JetBrains IDEs, it's really hard.
That is so good. I just sold my soul. I bought it for like a few years ahead.
Yeah, that's true. And probably I have a hard time using the Xcode IDE. But I mean, again, this is probably
an excuse.
Yeah, that's an excuse.
I was just wondering if you, let's say, had exposure to both of them, and then you're like, I like Android more.
I can say that I like Android more, or less. I like, as I said at the beginning, I'm doing interesting things.
You like what makes money?
No, I like
because at the time, like if you know PHP developers. And people used to make fun of the dollar thing, like, oh, these are people that needed money, so they just created the dollar, and that's how you create variables.
Like if you're really smart and you are doing really good, valuable things, then the money will come themselves. And I was always thinking it this way. I never I guess I never during my like 7 or 8 years official career, IT career, I never asked for a raise. Never.
You never
asked for a raise.
Do you think it's easier to ask for a raise, or it's easier to leave the company for another one, which is going to give you way more than the raise?
I guess that I would leave the company when I would realize that the environment that surrounds me doesn't contribute to my development. Rather than trying to leave the company to increase your salary. But I know for sure that if you want to increase your salary, you have to jump from one company to another. This is
that's definitely easier. What would be the environment that contributes to your growth? Is that people that are better than you?
People that are better than me?
Is that product that is complex and you're going to have a fun time developing it?
In my case, it's always people, and I usually like. I don't say that I put labels on the people. That's not true.
Yeah.
Actually, it doesn't sound that good, but in my case, it sounds interesting. I always like attribute a superpower to a people that I'm interacting with, and I usually like try to find something that person that I know is doing really good, and
Yeah.
it's doing better than me, and I can learn from that person.
As someone used to say, if you're in a company that in which you're the best, you're probably in the wrong place.
If you are looking to grow, then
Yeah.
definitely you should be out of the comfort zone. If you are looking for stability and you don't care about your future, like like career and growth and stuff, then probably you should find like a company where you feel comfortable, and you should be definitely look for cultural fit and stuff. Although cultural fit is still very important.
What would you say is the difference between a good developer, a good software engineer, and a great one?
I guess the good one does tasks in a timely manner at a good quality.
Yeah.
A better engineer, it doesn't simply like does tasks, like execute tasks.
Yeah.
I guess it creates tasks usually. I know it sounds simple and easy, but usually like when I say like creates tasks, I mean that he is able to
I mean, like approach the problem from a business perspective.
exactly from a business perspective. Also, it's an idea generator. It can like it anytime can propose something interesting that would improve the product, that would like help to the product to grow, and yeah, probably this is the only difference. And now, if we're talking about again about the AI,
Yeah.
it seems that good developers would become not that good soon just because.
But would you define, let's say, good developers versus great? Would you define it only in terms of technical skills? Or would you say there's more to the person that's great?
I guess that technical skills are at a higher level to both.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have like a good developer and a better development, it would be better not just because of the technical skills, and it could be that even the tech skills are worse.
I always like, especially when I was like at the beginning, I always used to like, sometimes I used to review what people like my managers, my like tech lead and whatnot used to do. And I would see a lot of flaws, a lot of like, oh, this guy's like a senior, like he's supposed to be better than me. For some reasons, I started to like catch up and see mistakes, things that they maybe overstepped, overlooked. And then you start to ask yourself, like, what is exactly this guy doing that he's the lead? Like, what is he doing better than I'm doing? And then you realize there's like a line that differentiates regular developers from the ones that, let's say, are in management, let's say, have a higher responsibility to the business, to the stakeholders, and whatnot.
In some companies, to be a tech lead or to be like a principal engineer and hire a consultant means like having like a lot of hard skills and
Yeah.
being really super like technical person. In some other companies, that means that you're mostly like like you have like more impact on the business, on the product, and you're the person that maybe doesn't write the algorithm with a like the best complexity, but you are the person that uh, knows that who would be able to write that algorithm, right?
What would you say is a toxic engineer in your opinion? What would be top number one trait?
There is no toxic engineers.
Oh yeah,
That all of
this
them
is a
are.
really fun opinion, because if you were to ask like a manager, they would definitely confirm there is.
You are speaking about like an engineering manager or like a product
Yeah,
manager?
yeah. Let's say product manager or even project manager.
So the person that is closer to business, I guess that business cares more about like being cared. The business cares about the customers and product and the company evolution.
Yeah,
And probably for the business, like like a toxic relationship would be like when you're basically doing a lot of pushbacks, when you're basically
finding a reason why things shouldn't be done.
yeah, exactly. And it's so weird that engineers are the people that should actually bring innovation and do new things, because this is this is why you are becoming an engineer. You want to learn how this world works, and then you want to improve it by making like a difference, changing how it works, right? And when I see the engineers that are saying that this works well, let's not change it, let's not touch it.
What do you think is the cause for that? Is it comfort zone? Is it
is the ego again? Is because they did that and they believe that this is the best.
Yeah, I think we have this syndrome of like babysitting our own thing, and we do it way too often, and it's especially common in code reviews. Speaking of code reviews, do you think code reviews are still relevant? Because I know a lot of people that already, because of AI, advocate that code reviews are a thing of the past. We're wasting time on discussions that shouldn't happen.
Code reviews are useful.
Yeah.
Are useful if you're being part of a team. Code reviews are useful for the code reviewers more, I guess, rather than for the person that is the author of the pull request. So
I would say the opposite is true as well. I learned a lot, even though it was sometimes painful, but I did sometimes. It's like, okay, let me switch lenses and actually do what he says. And then you realize, oh, now it makes sense.
Now you should have a mature emotional intelligence to do that, because not every engineer wants to try the
there's a lot of pushback.
Yeah,
to the point where it gets toxic.
It's so weird when I see comments like this should be this way, could you change this,
and you're like, please? Why? No, I love those comments. Why or what? One word comments. Yeah. Like there's such a thing, like, by the way, developers, everyone who's fucking watching, there's such a thing called suggestion. You type in free backticks, type in the code, and with another free backticks. I recommend you use that more often. It's super easy.
There are a lot of again, there are a lot of ways to write comments to not offend the people that is working with you. And also, if you want to reach your goal, if you really care and you want to improve that thing by leaving a comment, then you would probably first of all elaborate a lot on that comment, like explain why, not just what. And also maybe you would come with a code snippet, right there, with an example that could be applied.
Yeah, sometimes it's just easier to do one thing than to explain how to do one thing.
Yeah, and otherwise, to me, usually it looks like complaining. Just hey, that's bad.
Okay. Well, what are your top 3 things you're looking at when you're reviewing somebody's code?
Oh, the top 3 things. Yeah. I guess the first thing that I'm doing, I'm compiling it and running on my device.
People aren't compiling that on their own?
Of course, you can read the description, read the code and try to understand from the text. But why doing this if you can play with the new feature right away and see how it looks like?
Can you believe that I actually did tell somebody once this? I told him, because he was asking me one question in the comment, and then we had some misunderstanding, and then we had a call. And I'm asking him, have you pulled the branch and did you run the code? He said no. And I'm telling him, if you have done that, that comment would not even existed, because you have no context, because you don't know how it works. You don't know that that thing would not have even come up in the discussion, because you would have tested yourself. And I see I think we've come from actual testing and reviewing to just reading and approving. There are some people who even text you. They don't ask, can you review this? But can you approve this? It's like...
Yeah. I also do that from time to time. When I want to have this really quickly merged, because it blocks something. I literally state, I need 2 approves here.
Yeah, that's fun.
Or I need 1 more approve here. I'm not messaging, I'm not putting it I need 1 more review here. But I'm saying I need.
You need review. There's a statement 3 out of 4 developers love code reviews, and then there's an image with 1 guy sitting down and 3 other guys beating him.
Code review. To me, actually, if I'm in a good mood is basically it's not different from like scrolling the Facebook feed.
Yeah.
It's like scrolling someone's code and seeing what he did today. It's similar to like like scrolling the Facebook feed and see like pictures of people that posted what they did today. They posted like a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and they made it beautiful, and then they made a photo and posted on the feed. It's the same with the code. Like somebody did something cool, and it's why not like checking it out and see how it looks like.
As a client, when I'm especially for startups, it's very relevant. When I want to go on the market, I typically want to go cross-platform. I want both an iOS app and an Android app. So that being said, how hard is it to sell to the client the idea that they should go native? Should they go native? Should they consider like maybe different engineers and whatnot because of cross-platform?
That's a good question, actually.
Because it's hard to sell the idea to them like, hey, I'm just an Android developer and I also need to look for somebody who is only an iOS developer, and it's going to cost you double. We're probably going to have desync issues, and it's also going to take a lot longer to like build the whole thing. So is that feasible? Do you maybe consider learning something like Flutter, React Native, and whatnot?
I guess you don't need to sell that idea,
Yeah.
especially if it really like depends on the client, I guess, right? Because if the client is a small startup, why making it worse and trying to sell the idea to make native? Because I mean, I believe that cross-platform is a good, is a good opportunity for a startup to land quickly on the market, right?
Yeah.
And this is the ultimate goal of a startup: to land quickly on the market, to validate the idea, to see if it's needed, right? The idea and the solution is needed on the market, and yeah, a cross-platform solution should work well, I guess.
Let's say people that are joining the mobile development, they're probably looking at it from this perspective. Okay, I want to develop mobile apps, but I want to be able to make money. I want to be able to sell this to the clients. And the easier way to go to get into mobile development is to probably support both platforms. And there's like cross platform options, Flutter, React Native, really good options, by the way. So they're getting into this field, they learn this, they land clients. Now, the question is, inevitably, the people that do native development are probably going to suffer from a job standpoint, because as a result, you have competition that wasn't there before. So is that a threat to mobile developers that are doing native only, or should maybe them adapt to learning cross-platform options? Like, what's the approach here?
Competition is good, actually,
Yeah.
because it makes you evolve. It makes everything around evolve. But I believe that native developers, they will find their niche and their place where they can bring value, because I know like multiple startups, they are starting with something cross-platform to validate the idea, to land quickly on the market, because this is really critical today when there are like a lot of ideas and
Yeah,
1
the
million.
expectations from the clients are very high, because
Exactly, yeah.
like when every single time when a product lands on the market, you have really high expectation that it has good service, good support, it has apps on any system, it has like a website, everything is in place.
Whenever I'm looking for something new that I want to use to solve some of my problems, if I don't see that, I'm analyzing all the clients the software is supporting, and
Yeah.
if it doesn't support my mobile phone, then I mean,
You also form like an impression of how serious the product is, given their support of multitude of clients.
everything is about ecosystem today.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this is how Apple, and not only Apple, actually sells basically a lot of devices. You want to really like do something on the laptop, and then when you go to the market, take your phone and continue what you've done there on the laptop, or at least like check it out and maybe read through it. Speaking about the cross-platform tools, they are definitely something that is really useful, especially at the beginning, and maybe not only at the beginning. If you have a pretty simple product where you don't need like extreme performance, where you don't need some like I mean, I would say like native solutions, but at the same time, all the cross-platform frameworks are that
Yeah,
mature.
that was gonna be my next question. To anyone who wants to, let's say, pick one or the other, what would be the motivation to go native? Is there like a specific use case for that? Do you want to go like, I don't know, build games, but you can actually do games in like a framework like Unity or Unreal? Like, what is the use case? Let's say the business. What's the use case for going native? What's the primary motivation?
I guess it's mostly performance. I guess is probably also like the market and the trend. It's easier to. I mean, I don't want to say that it's easier to hire a native developer. But I believe that they are more.
Yeah.
I guess native solutions speak about the maturity of the product as well.
You could like maybe like, can you, let's say, use more features, even like experimental features, if you go native, as opposed to if you go like cross platform, you probably only have access to what's already public APIs and stable versions and whatnot.
Actually, I wouldn't use that as an argument anymore because the cross-platform frameworks are that mature.
For certain pieces of your application, you can even write native code in the end anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I guess that probably the single argument is actually the look and feel, the performance, mostly, especially imagine like you have apps that are doing maps, you have apps that are streaming video, for
Yeah,
example,
yeah.
content. I guess this is probably the strongest argument, like performance and the market around. Um,
I would also argue it's maybe a matter of scale as well. So it very much depends how big is your budget as a company. Obviously, if you're a startup, you don't want to waste money on unnecessary things.
that's true.
And
Yeah.
if you can buy both 2x developers as well as 2x time, why not do that? Like, you pay one guy to do an app for both platforms, and it's also looking somewhat similar. It also respects the design system and whatnot, because I'm not sure to what extent, but I remember the first time when like the very first cross-platform frameworks, which were pretty much like web emulations, the apps looked pretty creepy. They
Oh, yeah.
they wouldn't respect the design system, and you could tell that that is not a native app.
Yeah, now actually the current like cross-platform frameworks, they are closer to look and feel native. Actually, this is just my opinion, but I for some reason I believe that AI would be able to generate React Native better than making like a native solution.
Since you mentioned AI generating and all that stuff, to what extent you're using AI in your day-to-day mobile development?
There are a lot of use cases.
Do you have like periods when you say you use it extensively and then it fucks up your flow?
Always, yeah. I even like find myself being mad on AI. Today, it really depends on the company policy, right? Because if you have,
Yeah, that too.
if you have like the permission to use fully AI, then I can invent like 1 million, use cases.
Yeah, but isn't that subjective? Because some companies say don't use AI, but then if you ask them, what if I don't give it the context, the business context? Like, I'm just gonna ask a generic question on my problem. Like, I'm not gonna say what's I don't know, give me the SQL query for this I don't know, CSV, and actual paste some IDs, some actual data there.
Yeah, if you keep like the things secret, but still like there are companies that have like specific policies, and there are like like approved models and restricted
Yeah,
models and so
yeah.
on. But there are a million use cases, starting from like really like asking to generate code. Of course, it you would not ask. Although I had I had an attempt and it worked well with a simple task. There is the agent mode plus the MCP protocol,
Yeah.
and you can connect like different tools that there. And I've connected like Jira, I've connected GitHub, and I like like inputted the Jira ticket ID, and it opened the pull request. It was a simple one, but it worked.
Interesting.
It worked.
Did it also like move the statuses, everything like that?
Well, it didn't update the task,
or it just read the ticket and then
it read the ticket, it fetched the ticket, it read the ticket, it understood the task.
I would say this is like a bad idea for most projects, because most projects tickets are just empty or TBD.
You have to have like a good task, although it's pretty like it understands it well. So it understood the requirements, it did all the changes, it committed the changes, it opened the pull request. By the way, it opened the pull request, it used at some point it understood that there is no like a connection to the GitHub, or something was misconfigured. And it asked me in the chat like, do you have GitHub CLI tool installed? And I stated yes, and then it used that GitHub CLI tool by itself. So this is pretty like interesting. Although if it would be like a more complex task, I'm sure it would not be successful, because again, the context and stuff. So generating functions, making commits, opening pull requests, describing the work. One more interesting use case that I found for myself. Imagine you're an Android developer. And you're new to the team. You have to do a task that is already done on the iOS side. And you want to check how it's implemented on the iOS side, but you don't have any clue about how iOS works.
I had the exact same thing. I had a function on, I believe I found it on Stack Overflow. It was written in JavaScript. Like translating things is so good.
And now you simply go to you open the project, you go to the project and you ask the model to look how the feature is implemented in iOS, and just throw you classes in Kotlin of how it would be implemented in Android, for example.
This is really cool stuff, actually.
And like starting with these small things, you can go creative and
What would you say is your productivity boost since the whole AI boom? Since you started to, I would assume you have some kind of Copilot or something in your IDE.
Yeah, Copilot is great. Copilot is great. Recently, I started to use Cursor.
Isn't that an IDE as well?
Yeah,
that's what I hate about it. Like if they just gave me the model instead. Like, forget about the IDE. I don't care about your IDE.
Yeah, but like Cursor, there is Visual Studio Code, and Copilot it works brilliant in Visual Studio Code. Cursor is a fork of Visual Studio Code. Well, it's not really a fork, but it's built on top of Visual Studio Code, and it's enhanced for the AI. So the idea is that you have still the ability to like pick the model, use the agent mode, MCP servers, and so on. But it's more like appealing and neat, and there are like cool features there that are not present in
as much as I really love VS Code. I think it's a really good stuff for the community. But JetBrains just does such a better job for me personally.
Not if you want to use AI models within the project, I guess.
You can, I think you can configure that. You can use like, I believe there's like some kind of open source plugin, and you can hook up different models, including any model that you have. Like if you have your, let's say, Olama server, you can hook any model, including like GPT-4, GPT-5, and whatnot.
OpenAI Router, or how it's called? Yeah.
I forgot the name of the plugin, but that's what I used to use when I deployed my Olama server, and I wanted to experiment with my local models. That was really neat, actually.
Well, again, like usually the way I'm doing it, I have like either Cursor or Visual Studio Code open, and also the JetBrains IDE open, and usually like I'm inputting prompts in Visual Studio Code, and then I can check the code in the IDE, in the JetBrains IDE. And
I think that's the issue, that most of these plugins are very Visual Studio Code friendly, and they're developed quicker because of how you do plugins in VS Code, basically in JavaScript. And it's easier to consume the, let's say, LLMs, APIs via JavaScript, easier to implement that than to do that in Java. And that's why, and also JetBrains is proprietary. As a result, the plugins make it into JetBrains a lot slower. It happened the same with Copilot. Like when Copilot came out, it only was available for VS Code for like, I believe, up to 4 months, 5 months maybe. Then it came back to JetBrains as well. But I had to wait a little bit.
If we are speaking about JetBrains, let's say if we take Android Studio It's a little bit biased. I believe it's a little bit biased, and you would rather use Gemini there than any other model, and
No,
that's why.
what I'm saying is when I wanted to create a plugin for VS Code, it literally took me 10 minutes to do one.
Oh, it's simpler.
It's that simple. They like have even like an npm package you install and you just build it on the fly. Go ahead and
They got npm. There is everything
yeah,
there.
and I tried to like document myself. How do I build a plugin for JetBrains? It's a fucking nightmare.
That's why I said that React Native is not that bad actually if you're doing like a startup because there is npm.
Yeah, you mentioned MCP servers and like Jira and whatnot. And immediately in my mind came the idea of Devin. What happened to Devin? And it's taking our jobs. Where is it now?
I don't know. I was not, to be honest, I was not following.
Yeah, there was like a huge hype around it.
I know,
like,
yeah, I know about this.
Look how fast it solves. Like, it's picking up GitHub issues, it immediately resolves them, and there's like a really low rate of failure and whatnot.
I guess Devin needs a, like a mentor as well, somebody who will guide.
Have you heard about Diela?
No. What's that?
So basically, that's an AI appointed minister in Albania. What do you think about that idea? So it's an AI appointed as a ministry of dealing with corruption.
Oh, that's cool. That's interesting. AI would do cool things there, but at the same time, I guess it's the same as in programming and IT. You still need a person that will validate what.
Correct. Yeah, you still need people. You like work with people in the end.
Yeah,
you cannot make a decision. But I guess the pick was really good here because corruption is a very objective thing. Like there's nothing subjective about corruption.
It's interesting if a model would ask for money to do something, and you would be able, like
I would assume people would get really creative and still beat it up. That's my point. But it's really fun that you see stuff like that. Like I've even seen like initiatives that companies that appoint, was it CEO maybe or CTO as like an AI who's gonna tell people what to do and whatnot. But yeah, I guess we go back to the idea of if you're a technical person and you know how an LLM is built, how it works, you realize, yes, it's not if and else's, but it's numbers. And at some point, the numbers start to make less and less sense in the sense that it's not that intelligent. Are you bullish on AGI? Do you believe that's ever going to happen?
I don't know, to be honest. It's what I know is that I'm curious to find out what will happen.
I am also like, I don't know. I am bullish on one hand because I want technology to get better, but at the same time, I am putting a little bit of resistance because the expectation is so high. Like we expect this thing to be perfect. Especially if you come and tell it to my face that it's going to replace me and my job, I'm going to be defensive and I'm going to expect perfection out of it. And of course, that's not the case. But at the same time, if it's going to be really good, then it's only going to make the best of us even better. That's my argument.
I believe that makes sense, actually.
Let's say we do reach AGI. We're in that futuristic era. What's your opinion on general person income? And what do you think will happen to the human dignity? Because, like, especially as engineers, we find our pride in what we do. And we are represented by what we do. The way we think, the way we act. We pride ourselves by doing that. That's why I would suppose that's why we have this high volumes of ego. Because we are the elite of smart intellectuals doing some really cool stuff. And now AI comes in, takes our jobs, and it like the government gives us general person income. You have some income, you can live on it, and you can spend it on whatever. Don't care, just live, you know?
Well, this is a tough one, I guess. Again, I don't think AI will take our jobs. I believe it will change our jobs a lot, and it's already changing the way we are working, right? I really hope that it's not a bubble. as many like
as NFTs, Web3s,
yeah,
and
that's true.
whatnot.
I really hope that this is really like some innovation and progress. Although we will see what will happen. But again, I don't think it will take our jobs. However, uh, well, if somebody will take our jobs, or if AI will take our jobs, I guess we will figure out something else.
I guess the best thing you can do is pick up a secondary skill like becoming a plumber.
Yeah,
It's a good thing. Like I would say people who are doing like courses on Udemy, they should maybe pick up plumbing and do a course on plumbing because it's gonna be really sold in like 5 to 10 years.
I was thinking if I wouldn't be like an IT engineer, what would I be able to do? And
you would think it's funny, but ever since the AI boom, I had this existential question in my head, like what the fuck am I doing? Like, let's say this thing really gets big, like how else am I relevant? How else am I interesting to the world?
Yeah, you have to
like imagine for 1 second
adapt.
you have zero programming skills and everything else is kept the same. Your mentality, your charisma, your way of speaking, your way of dealing with people. Like, wouldn't most engineers have to suffer because of that? Because a lot of us are introverts. A lot of us like it quiet, our own little space, privacy, all that stuff.
That's the thing.
You take the programming aspect away, and a lot of us are doomed. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting thought. Yeah, I guess this is the thing that we will need to adapt, and we will need to change and grow. That's really like it's maybe for somebody it will be a little bit painful, but again, you have to go outside the comfort zone to grow and evolve.
What's the future for the next generation of juniors? Because it's quite tough for them. There's been a huge market crash, a lot of layoffs, a lot of seniors looking for jobs. Even like there's a label on LinkedIn, desperate. Like people are desperate for jobs. We are in a financial crisis globally, and then there's the new juniors, which have to compete with seniors, with AI, with all the craziness that's going on. Like how do they do that? How do they make it in?
They have to compete with seniors and AI, but the difference is that they have AI when the seniors that are seniors at the moment.
Yeah, but as a company, why would you hire a junior having AI versus a senior having AI?
Because I don't know, maybe senior is more expensive or senior is not motivated. I would.
Let's say the money is not a thing. What would be the number one trait a junior must have in 2025 to enter the bar, to basically play the game?
The junior should not be a simple programmer. The junior should basically be close to senior. That's the reality.
So actually, they should be an exceptional junior, in other words.
Exactly. Yeah, and maybe we should like reevaluate the term junior and what does it mean, because if previously like being junior meant like being able to write and like deliver code at a decent quality without like having a lot of experience.
I remember I had this experience one time. They were like asking for my CV. I gave them it was still early on my career, but I didn't consider myself like junior. And they were like replying to me, "We are sorry, but we are not looking for junior people at this point." I'm like, fuck you, first of all. And second of all, I don't think experience can be measured in years. Like you can spend 10 years doing the same stupid shit in one company that accepted you after some internship and not grow as an engineer.
That's definitely true. And I guess these are exceptional cases, and probably they are not they're not thinking and counting all the overtime hours that you did.
Yeah, years is a good indicator of experience, but if you solely judge a person on years, you're probably gonna miss on good opportunities.
That's why usually like resumes, they are good filtering out the candidates, but they are not good for hiring. You cannot hire a candidate.
The juniors have a card under their sleeves that seniors don't have. And I would say that's attitude and fresh blood. Like a lot of seniors have lost the fire they came in the game with. They have lost that desire to change everything, to do everything, to push a lot of overtime and whatnot. Juniors still have that. And not to mention the rate. Like if you take these two alone, you can compete with seniors actually.
That's true. I would say one more thing actually here, like companies, if I would own a company, probably I believe that I would hire juniors, not just because they are cheap and not just because they I don't know, like have a different attitude and so on, but actually share his knowledge. Basically, you've got like a lot of experience, you've accumulated a lot of experience, and you reach a point when it's very hard to upgrade your skills. It's very hard to learn something new because you know a lot.
Yeah.
And at this stage, one thing that and this is why usually like experts probably are losing the motivation, just because it's so damn hard to like learn new things. You know a lot, and
I would say you're not motivated to learn new things because we live in a world of we live in a fast-paced world. We need things done fast now. There's even a saying, let's do it quick, we'll do it better later. And you live in this world where you have to ship things fast. That I know even a lot of companies that have employees that stay at most 3 to 6 months in the company. And you have a quick rotation of people. People always come in, go out, come in, go out. And he doesn't give a shit. As long as the client is happy, he delivers to the client, he gets new clients. He doesn't care if the developers stay there 1 year, 2 years, or 2 months. He does not care.
What I wanted to say actually is that at some point, when you have like a lot of expertise and experience, one thing that could motivate you evolve further would be like tutoring and helping other people grow.
Yeah, 1000%. I do agree with that.
And if you have like a strong team of seniors, a couple of a couple of juniors would make them even stronger, I believe, because they would have the opportunity.
Yeah, we need a way to pass on the baton, to pass on the flag to the next generation. And I see a disruption of that process. Like we used to have this passing on to the next generation until this point where we had AI. Because now it's hard to do that because everyone has access to it. At the same time, the bar is so high, like not everyone can get in. And if people get in, obviously we want them to also know what the AI does. We don't just want prompt engineers. And it's a little bit hard because to some extent, people lose motivation to learn because of this fast sense of accomplishment / achieving things because of AI. To another extent, I don't know, we become gatekeepers, and to some extent, we're also pushing back a little bit on AI. Like there's a lot of pushback from developers, like AI is dumb, AI is like making a lot of mistakes and whatnot.
And it does.
Yeah.
As any other human being, any human being does mistakes.
But at the same time, the whole software engineering industry is so young. Like we don't even know what to expect. And we've created a potential threat which may get out of hand, but we don't know. Yeah, that's funny.
It's so funny when speaking about AI being dumb. It's so funny when I had to implement some super complex smart animation, and I need to implement a complex function with a formula that would calculate like some positioning.
Yeah.
And I went like all in and asked GPT to implement all the animation, and it implemented everything, and then it added that function, that complex function, added the prototype, and then added a to-do in that function. That's stated.
Do it yourself, bitch.
Yeah, that's stated. And here you just implement the function with the formula, and everything will work.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for helping out.
Yeah.
Do you think AI makes us dumber? Including the people that already know a lot about tech, like seniors and stuff. Like, what's the negative effects of AI to both senior people that are already in the tech, they're using it to be more productive, but even more so to the people that are just picking it up and getting started with like any domain?
Like I would share my opinion with a question. Do you think like calculators made us dumber? Do you think that computers made us dumber?
I do agree with the fact that there's some progress, and in the process of transitioning to the next stage, we lose certain skills, like with industrialization. When trains and railroads appeared, a lot of people lost their jobs, obviously. A
Yeah,
lot
but
of manual labor got lost in the process. Like, who's doing blacksmith nowadays? Nobody's doing blacksmiths. This is only a thing of like, let's keep up the tradition. But we have industrial complexes producing stuff on scale. Like, there's a lot of stuff that has been industrialized. I would assume it's the same here. There's a lot of stuff that is going to be automated, is going to be somewhat taken by AI with some human supervision, hypervision. But at the same time, like, to what extent a certain amount of skills that makes us rational should still be there. Like, when I say it makes us dumber, I more so mean like we become less rational. It doesn't mean like I do agree with the idea that I don't need to fucking type full name, full function names and remember signatures. I don't care about that. That doesn't make me productive. But at the same time, I want to have critical thinking skills. I want to have the ability of figuring out problems and solutions to those problems.
I believe that if you are AI power user, you are definitely becoming even smarter. Just because if you really like get value from the AI models, this means that you can really explain the problem really well, right?
Yeah, but let me put it this way. AI is feeding itself with the input that was produced a few years ago. Let's say a few years later, recent. My point is, to what extent we'll reach a point where nobody's producing anything new and you're no longer learning, quote unquote. You're stagnating, you're at the same place. Not to mention hallucinating and all that stuff, which can get even more annoying. When it's, oh, use this function, but you could have fucking searched the web. I even give him like, here's the GitHub repo link. I don't want to go through all the library code, but I need to understand this part, or give me the function which does this and that. It's just not doing it.
An AI model is not a search engine, right?
Yeah.
An AI model is it's not something, it's not a database. It doesn't have all the knowledge, right? The AI model it acts like a human being that tried to learn everything at all. It knows a lot of, it has a little bit of context of everything, but it doesn't know well anything.
It's basically like a similarity database engine. That's what I think of LLMs. Like,
Well,
you take a text, there's some kind of encoder which converts that text to a vector of numbers, and then it tries to look up that vector to like what other vectors you're close to. Oh, this makes sense. You're close to those vectors. Let me give you this answer.
you can visualize it like this, I guess. Again, I'm not an AI expert. Probably this is the problem. The people are thinking that they can use models for searching and asking anything, but it's not like this. The models, they are not. It doesn't act like a person that knows everything. It acts more like a person that knows a little bit of everything, but nothing really good.
Have you ever cursed an AI?
uh,
Like, you are beep.
no, I'm usually polite with AI. I still
Do you
think
thank AI?
sometimes, and sometimes I even like, you know,
You're
so-
wasting CPU cycles on the other end.
sometimes I find myself that I've used AI, it did the task,
Yeah.
I've implemented everything works well, and sometimes I accidentally go back and say, "Hey, thank you, it worked well." By the way, and nothing like I'm not asking for anything. I'm just, like giving it a heads up that it worked. Like your solution worked, bro.
Yeah, I think I did it on a few occasions, but I did it in like very critical situations when I already running out. I was running out of patience. I was getting really frustrated and nervous, and for some miracle, it worked. And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for not wasting my time anymore.
And it's so weird that I'm usually like, I start to type this and then I realize why I'm typing this. I'm like, it's like I'm reporting to AI that I did the job and everything is fine.
I tend to believe that it takes the feedback into consideration, in a sense that if you're gonna say it worked, then it's gonna put a thumbs up in its own database and actually recommend this answer more. But I'm not sure to what extent it works that way.
It's definitely, I guess, taken into consideration, at least in the context of the chat itself.
In the context of the chat, yes. If you like correct it and say, hey, there's no function called this, but there is a function called that. And he's like, oh, good to know. Let me do that then. Yeah, it works to that extent, but I guess until you reach the context window. And then it tries to summarize everything and the whole thing goes to shit.
Using an AI model it also involves some skills and
fine tuning is a thing. Otherwise, you might like the best thing in the worst hands is not helping.
I really like recently found a cool trick with AI models for myself. Sometimes when I need some specific like output, I might state to put the phrase in a form so that since you've read the book A, could you please help me with B and C? And in this case, you are basically like somehow like
you're assuming that he has context on certain topics,
on certain topics from the books, which is really like it makes it.
Yeah, but sometimes it hallucinates because of your assumption. You think it knows, like it very much, I would assume, depends on what's the popularity of the subject you're trying to assume he knows. If it's not that popular, most likely he's not gonna fucking research it. He's not gonna. I really like what they did with like showing the steps, like searching the web, thinking, doing this and that. That's really, I would say, useful because at least you know if it's putting in the effort or it just tried to mumble and give you some answer to please you.
Yeah.
I guess more on business. How do you personally balance between, let's say, developer/software engineer excellence and business needs? Like a lot of developers suffer from that aspect in a sense that they will do their best to make the software really healthy, look really good, maintainable, future-proof, and whatnot. But then in the process of doing so, the business needs will suffer more because he's going to invoke, oh, let's refactor this. Oh, let's do this. Let's use that framework. Let's upgrade that library. But that's none of that is business value. None of that is actually features, deliverables that the users can be impacted by.
I'm looking at this as yet another challenge that I have to solve. Look, engineers and all the programmers are always like working in an environment with constraints, right?
Yeah.
So you have like constraints with memory, constraints with I don't know, like with battery, for example, if you're speaking about like mobile and so on and so forth. Why not treating this also as a constraint? So you have to do a good job. You have to do like a really scalable, good product, upgrade to like most recent frameworks, keep everything up to date. But you have a constraint, which is business, and you basically should do that, also keeping in mind that constraint.
You have to implement a feature, but you also have a deadline on your ass. And you either push back and say it's going to be done a slightly later, or you're going to say, hey, fuck this. I'll create a ticket for myself. Let's do a quick fix. We'll do it better later. But the truth is, a lot of people don't even create tickets or to-dos.
Usually
like that's a good practice in companies and shit. But if you go in most companies, small to medium companies, they don't do that. They just have a verbal agreement. We'll do it better later, not now. And
yeah. That's something common. No, I usually create tasks, but I believe that the tasks are not the most important. And here, the experience of like years of experience and skills and knowledge of code design help you. Because if you're really experienced, you can drop a lot of things that are good, nice to have, but they would slow down the development, and drop them in a way so that later it's easier to add them back. Right?
Yeah.
And this is everything about the architecture. Architecture is it's not about like building the most appealing, the most cool, and the most neat code design in the world. The architecture of the code and of the projects, it's all about juggling between time, business, and code quality, and it's always a trade-off, right? And if you're a good architect and a good code designer, then you know how to do the tech debt properly so that it's easier to fix it later.
Yeah, you at least leave a change log for that later.
Yeah, definitely. And the tasks are not the most important. Again, the tasks are good for discipline, so that if you have a task, then it's tracked, and you will have, the probability is less that you will not do that.
Yeah.
But the most important is how you approach that.
Yeah. After all of this years of experience that you have, like 7 or 8 years you mentioned, my question would be, what motivates you to keep running and keep going? Aren't you tired of doing the same thing essentially?
It's not the same thing.
To an extent, it is. You're still doing development. You still have the same issues. I would say the context changes, like the domain of the business maybe changes. Maybe the bug is within an app called a different name, slightly in a different context. But in general, like the creator of Ruby on Rails used to say, we are CRUD monkeys. We're taking data from forms, we're saving it into the database, and then we're serving it back via APIs.
Would you be tired to leave?
No,
it's also usually it's consistent.
But do you get tired at times? Like, oh fuck, this thing again.
Usually not. No, and AI is the savior, because usually it does things that when you're you have in mind damn, again this thing, I don't want to do it. It's probably something simpler,
just routine stuff.
Yeah, and the AI can do that. In regards to the coding, that's true. Basically, you are dealing with data in different forms, taking it from one place and moving to a different place. But at the same time, if you are not just the coder, and if you're involved, I mean, I usually liked to go to the Google Play and read comments under the apps I'm working on. This is really interesting. And
does that inspire you?
Of course, it motivates a lot, especially the ones that are changing from 1 star to 3 or 4 or even 5.
Yeah,
this motivates a lot, and this shows you that you're bringing value, and this is important.
Yeah. I guess it's fulfilling when you can feel your impact on, especially when it's not a big team, but you're part of a small team and your impact is so huge. You have a lot of viewers. I've had this experience when I used to work for a gaming studio. We weren't a big team, but there were so many players. And when you hear their opinion, their feedback and whatnot, then you're kind of motivated to do an even better of a job, which is really cool.
Yeah. There are, of course, bad comments as well.
Inevitably, bots and stuff.
The normal distribution, the Gaussian bell shape.
Yeah.
But it's so funny that there were a couple of comments that were stating that the company should fire all the engineers because they are stupid.
Yeah, those are funny.
So
I mean,
funny.
there are apps technically that I also use them. Was it so hard for you to just do a good of a job to I tend to hate this stupid select box on iPhones. It's so annoying. Every single time you want to I want to search it. I don't want to fucking scroll to hundreds of countries and whatnot. I just want to, and sometimes it's just a bit weird. Sometimes it's not that hard to make a fix, but they just choose not to do it.
All the time I encounter a bug anywhere,
You're more empathetic?
No, I mean, usually, like previously, like a couple years ago, I was always mad and I was saying always like, what a bad UX and what a shitty app. How come that the engineers did that? But now, I'm thinking that it's a human being under it, behind it, and it's a human error. I also do bugs a lot. You cannot like improve something and innovate something without breaking it, right?
Correct. Yeah. It's the same with like, I don't know, people renting on open source repos. Oh, this is so shit. Why are you not supporting that? But like the moment you try to do an open source project yourself and you get invaded with loads of requests and you have no time to maintain it, then you realize that that's a human being on the other end trying to make a change. You're using it for free and you're being an asshole.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I guess
it's like like it's the people that are stating the a lot of comments under the Crunchyroll app that were stating like this is a shitty app because they've got ads. And I mean, I'm being like, okay, they've got ads because they have to.
How do you think
make money?
The financials work.
Yeah. Like they have to make money to pay the engineers to make this shitty app that you are trying to use. And if you are trying to use it, then most probably you need it, right?
What happened at Crunchyroll? Since you mentioned Crunchyroll,
it's nothing special actually. It was a decision to close the office here in Chisinau. It's, as far as I understood, it's not a like a decision driven by costs or money.
yeah,
It's probably a simple reorganization, restructurization. It's a little bit sad to like
yeah. I know so many good engineers that were impacted by it, and now they're all like displaced across different companies.
Like, we should understand well what's the word impacted. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Because I believe that for some people, this could be again so many times mentioned the comfort zone. For some people, this could be like actually a benefit.
Yeah, comfort zone will only end up killing you if you stay too much. Some people like it. Like I know people who are like in the same company for 10 years. I wouldn't imagine myself being in the same company for 10, unless it's my company. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But again, like this is, I'm looking this as a perturbation, a noise to, like anytime you want to change something, even with AI models, you're adding a little bit of randomization and noise to like change the path of change the path of.
Is it a necessary evil?
Yeah, I believe so, and I believe that again, you're moving a person out from the comfort zone.
Yeah,
it will ever grow or go down, and again, this is already, it depends on the person. I know I have colleagues and I know people that didn't do like they got a pause of like a year, and then they even grew up and become even better.
like it's funny you mentioned that. Like if you look at the luxury cars like Ferrari, Lamborghini, Pagani, and so on, it's the exact same story. Like a guy comes and asks for something, the guy being rude rejects him, then he's like, fuck you, I'm gonna build my own car.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's how they got the best cars in the world, actually.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But again, it depends on the person. For example, in my case, I cannot not do anything, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but sometimes this really could be helpful. The only thing that is said is that it's hard to, like to lose the team, right? Because
You
like
build a certain, I don't know, attachment to them, I would say.
yeah,
And
definitely.
it's funny that like we're building so much technology and innovation, but at the same time there's human emotion involved. And it's an interesting balance of emotion and pure technical skills. And yeah, that's just always interesting for me. Every single time, like I didn't leave good companies very often, but every single time I left them for objective reasons, I would always miss that company.
I've mentioned that the office is closed, and actually it touched just the engineering part, I guess. Um, on the other hand, the attitude was really great, and it's really great. And I mean, I guess that this is the company where I grew up. I've worked as a junior there. I've been there a senior. I've been there a tech lead. So it's basically shaped me in a way or so in the
I
tech
would,
field.
yeah, I would argue the same. It's the company that put some really solid grounds before I took off and started flying, like in the contracting world and so on. Yeah, it's just sad, as you said, that especially that they had to let a bunch of engineers go. But
It
yeah,
is what
as you
it is.
said, comfort zone off.
Yeah, and
Now they need to evolve, do some better, become a better version of themselves, or adapt in some kind of way.
mhm. Yeah, that's true.
To anyone who's watching this and wants to get into mobile development, what would be your recommendation? Any books, any courses, any, I don't know, AI tips? Like, let's say they want to get in, they want to play the game long term, and they want to enjoy this thing, but they don't want to get overwhelmed by the amount of information and technology that there is to learn.
Probably anything works. Any media, any book, anything that you found on the internet, of course, with like a like a mature filtering out, because there is stupid things on the internet as well, that works well. Uh, Books might be too slow. I mean, this is a great thing. I still read books, not that much because I have less time, but the books, they are still relevant, and I believe they will be always relevant, but they are too slow for the beginning. You would spend way less time chatting with an AI model, discussing different topics
Yeah.
about mobile development rather than reading a book. So yeah, YouTube videos. I'm the guy that are watching tutorials. I really
You must have a Hindi accent.
well, yeah. Videos, AI is very powerful for learning. Actually, if you use it properly, ask the proper questions.
Yep.
Uh, what I would also suggest is not trying to learn something, but instead
Try
try
and
to
play.
apply right away. And this is relevant not just for today. It was relevant a couple of years ago. It's always the way I was learning stuff. It's like having a video on one screen and then
Immediately working it out. Like,
applying it in a project
yeah, I
on
remember the Udemy courses. Like people, some people watch it until the end and then they apply it. But by the time you watch until the end, you no longer have the motivation to apply it. Whereas if you immediately try it, and especially if you not only copy the example but slightly adjust it to your own liking, then you go to the next video. He does something you don't pay attention to, and it fucks the whole thing up. And then you realize because you added your own flavor, that's the reason why it fucked up. And then you understand more concepts actually, but you wouldn't be in that position if you didn't try it.
back in the days when I was really like following a lot of tutorials. The tutorial was becoming like a reference and some documentation at some point when you're trying to build something, and you know that that thing that you need was mentioned in video number 3
Yeah.
at specific amount of time, and you're opening going to that video and looking for that like time slot where that guy mentioned that thing. uh, with AI models, you can become even like more productive with all that, because you can ask an AI model to convert video to text and then summarize it, and you can search through the video
Yeah, it's really
using the
powerful
model.
YouTube. Like you can take the YouTube transcript and then you don't even
Exactly.
need to watch the video. Say, summarize this thing for me.
I don't summarize them. What I do usually is I'm trying to understand with the AI model if there is something valuable in that blog post,
Yeah.
and if I need to read that or not. And usually, like, I'm throwing the blog post and then asking, could you like list all the things that I would learn from this blog post?
Yeah, a lot of them, like the reason I stopped reading a lot of them is because of the clickbait. Like a lot of them are clickbait and like how to do XYZ. And then he talks about some shit. And then at the very end, he mentions like the small part which you're interested in. I'm like, I wasted all. It's like YouTube videos. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that's exactly why I asked the question. There's so much information, good and bad. Like you need a way to have more signal and less noise. And if you pay attention to all the information, you can get lost as a senior. I can't imagine what happens to juniors who wants to get in. Like when we were starting, it wasn't that much information. And still we were overwhelmed by the amount of information we had to know. Nowadays, it's a lot of information. You need a guide. You need like some kind of GPS.
One cool tip is to look for a roadmap, a learning roadmap. And there are a lot of them in form of a tree of what
I always... Like what I love about especially the newer languages like Go, Rust, they have this thing called Go has, I think it's Go Playground, and Rust has something similar. And I really love that approach of learning an ecosystem. They have like a roadmap. Here's what you need to learn. We're not going to dive into details and into the weeds, but we're going to slightly go over the topics that are covered. And then from here on, you can like individually start navigating topics. It's really powerful. Something we didn't have at the time. Like at the time we had like the whole index and go through and read whatever you think is useful. And then you get lost in motivation as well. You start picking it up. My final question usually when I close the show is, what is your final piece of advice for anyone who's watching this video?
Learn to learn. That's critical. It's not enough to just learn because the things are very dynamic today and you need to adapt. So learn to learn. And there is one more thing. It sounds interesting and it's being interpreted by different people differently. But you cannot learn unless you almost know it already.
Can you say that again?
You cannot learn something unless you already know it.
Interesting.
Or almost know it already.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's really good piece of advice. That was pretty much it from this show. I am sure there's a bunch of other questions I didn't go through, but I would love to with another special occasion. But before I close the show, and because we started the show with a drink which is non-alcoholic, meaning I cannot buy a token of appreciation for you, I still wanted to thank you for coming over. And I didn't accidentally put 2 cups on the table. That's why the cups have like specific, slogans and shit with like coffee and whatever. So you can pick one of the cups as a small token of appreciation for coming here.
Oh my god, that's so cool. Let me check out the cups.
Yeah, sure. There's like some coffee.
I'll tell you that.
And shit.
I'll tell you that I'm a cups fan actually, and I'm collecting them usually. So
same here. I just go in and buy some cups and stuff. You're racist. Yeah. So this is a small token of appreciation. And that being said, thanks a lot for coming here. It was a pleasure talking to you. And as I say in every video, this was VUnstaged. Keep your mind open and your source unstaged.